Hello, this is Craig, and in this video I will give you a summary of the most common things around unit control and micro that are very useful when you play Terran. I also give some hints on how you can manage your base while you have to control your army. First, let's start with patrol micro. Most players know about this technique already, but I still mention it here because there are some details you might not know about. In general, the purpose of patrol micro is to attack an enemy unit while you keep moving away from it. The most common example for Terrans would be Vulture micro versus either Zerglings or Zealots. In this example, as you keep moving away from the Zealot, you use patrol in the direction of the Zealot to shoot it, and immediately afterwards you use move command to get away again. You have to be in attacking range when you use patrol. If you are out of range when you issue the patrol command, the Vulture will not shoot upon getting into range, but a bit later, which might bring you too close to the Zealot. That's why you usually move it back again before the Vulture fires to avoid the hit. However, this is not all there is to it. You will notice in your games that the Vulture sometimes doesn't shoot right away at the opponent while moving backwards even though you are in range. This happens when you use a bad spot for issuing the patrol command in relation to the Vulture and the targeted unit. The Vulture will only shoot at the enemy unit with patrol if the Vulture faces the targeted unit while turning to the patrol command spot. You also cannot target fire with patrol. The targeted unit is always the closest combat unit. You have to keep that in mind when you micro versus multiple units. Here you can see this detail in action. When I issue the patrol command in direction to the chasing Zerglings while I am closer to the standing Zergling, the Vulture does not shoot. And when I directly click on a Zergling with patrol, a different Zergling is killed instead. Another slightly different example for patrol micro is the Valkyrie. Contrary to units like Vultures, Wraiths or Mutalisks, Valkyries slowly slide to a full stop when they attack. So patrol micro can only help you to set the path of the slowdown to get them as far away as possible from the enemy units after they shot. The best option to use patrol micro is to fly in range of the Mutalisks at a slight off angle and then use the patrol command back in such a way that they will face the Mutalisks during the turn. If they don't face the Mutalisks during the turn, they will not shoot. Next is Goliath micro versus carriers. The most effective way to fight carriers that are not alone out in the open is to kill interceptors by repeatedly attack moving on the ground with your Goliaths, to have your Goliaths shoot continuously. Simply using hold command does not accomplish anything and should not be used. The Goliaths won't shoot most of the time. If you want to macro or build something while the carriers are engaging you, use patrol command instead. With patrol, the Goliaths will still be shooting at the interceptors, but with a slower rate of fire than with attack move. The only occasion where hold position might be useful is to focus fire a retreating carrier. When you get in range of a carrier and you target fire at once, you can subsequently use hold position while chasing it to keep attacking the same carrier. Hold position keeps the lock of a previously attacked unit. The next topic is how to push with a fake double or FD push, which is an early game push with a small tank and marine force with reinforcing Vultures with mines. Ideally, when you push, you should continuously spam move command about a screen away to keep the formation of your push. If you just move across the map, your push formation will change into a conga line, which makes it easy for your opponent to snipe marines. Of course, you have to do some stuff in your base while you push, so usually it is a mixture between keeping the formation of your push and moving across the map while you build a supply depot, for example. It is good to correct the formation from the move command when you focus on your push again. When Dragoons engage you to snipe Marines, keep moving towards them with your forces until this attack animation is over and then use move once to shoot with your units. After that you continue using move command to keep moving towards him. Every time he stops to take pot shots, you repeat this pattern to also get some damage done. Be aware that he might want to snipe your tank, so keep it on an extra hotkey to retreat it while the Marines keep shooting. With your reinforcing Vultures, lay mines in front of the Dragoons to buffer more shots. An FD push with good micro can do significant damage versus standard 1-gate goon expos. Another frequent micro situation is Marines and Medics versus Mutalisks, when you want to deny a third or just pressure the Zerg. In general, you should clump up your Marines and stay away from ridges so that you can see the Mutalisks attacking you. When he engages you, stim, move forward and focus fire an individual Mutalisk to kill one off quickly. You don't want to spread your fire across all Mutalisks. You can also use this short stim timing window to do stuff in your base, because the Zerg usually runs away when he hears a stim and sees the Marines moving towards him. Otherwise, when you don't see his units at the moment and you want to do stuff in your base, always press hold position to not get lured while you are not paying attention. Regarding Marine vs Lurker control, if you see a Lurker field in the open, you can kill it relatively cost effective by moving your Marines perpendicular to the Lurker field to spread them out and then scan, stim and move everything to kill the Lurkers off. Another tidbit is that unsieged tanks have a higher range than Lurkers, so versus a small amount of Lurkers you do not need to siege, you can just move. This knowledge is especially useful in conjunction with a science vessel if Zerg cuts off reinforcements with Lurkers or does a Lurker drop and you are busy with your push. You can just take a science vessel and tanks and move these Lurkers and you do not have to pay much attention to clean them up. Sometimes a tank moves into range of a Lurker, but you will be notified by the interface so you can move it back a bit without losing it. Let's move on to big army control and PvP. The control of your army greatly affects the outcome of a battle, so here are some tips to increase your chances versus Protoss. First off, when you move out you should be aware of the army positioning of your opponent. Use comsets to scan ahead. Having a lot of mines in the center of the map helps narrowing down the position and also delays possible counterattacks. While you push, you can lay mines alongside your flank, but don't lay mines in the direction you are pushing to avoid getting mine dragged. When the Protoss army is around one screen away from your tanks and starts moving in your direction, start sieging your tanks and retreat your Vultures to your tank line and hold position them. Retreating your Vultures serves two purposes. They do not get killed by tank splash damage and are primarily attacking Zealots since they run up to the tanks. After you siege your tanks and retreated your Vultures, target fire Dragoons with your tanks to increase your efficiency and avoid friendly fire as much as possible. Ideally, you don't siege all tanks at once but in groups so they don't all fire at the same time at the same unit. Overkilling single units considerably decreases your inflicted damage. Having 12 tanks shoot the same unit is basically the same as 3 or 4 tanks shooting it, and should be avoided. Here's an example of losing the battle because a lot of tanks fire on the same unit. And here is an example of not retreating your Vultures back to your tank line, allowing the Zealots to close in to your tanks. If you get caught off guard with unsieged tanks by Protoss engaging you, it is often advisable to retreat your front tanks while you siege your back tanks instead of just sieging everything at once. You can use hold position micro to fire while you retreat. With hold position, only the turret turns and not the entire tank. Of course, your opponent can choose to retreat instead of committing to the attack, so this whole procedure can repeat a lot of times during a game, and you have to try to not be caught off guard ever to have a favorable engagement. If you win the first big battle, it is important to reinforce your push and not just continue your push with pure tanks, because they are very weak versus mass zealots, which is usually what Protoss builds during the attack. Regarding EMPing Arbiters, you should not use EMP at the maximum distance versus moving Arbiters, because it is likely that you will miss. Instead, if for example an Arbiter wants to recall, move your vessel close enough so that an EMP targeted right at the Arbiter will always hit. And finally, some tips regarding TVT and breaking contains. It is a fairly common scenario that you might get contained early on if you expand it much faster than your opponent. So what options do you have to break it? Siege tanks can shoot further than they can see, so the main theme is to siege your tanks just outside his vision to get the initial tank shot off. For this it is important to have your floating barracks near your opponent's siege line to have more vision. Your opponent often has his barracks floating as well, so you don't have any vision advantage. In this case it can be useful to use single SCVs to tank his initial shots while you move in range with your tanks and siege them. Ideally you want to line up your tanks properly before you send in the SCV. You should also try to only move in range of 1 or 2 tanks at once, so you don't lose more tanks than him, while you try to break the contain. When you move the tanks diagonally into position, they stay in formation more frequently. Don't move more than 4 tanks at once for this purpose, because they will likely break formation because the tank line might be bigger than the magic box. Also repair your tanks before you move forward again to snipe the next ones, so that you keep your losses at a minimum. The magic box is the area in which your units stay in formation when you move them. If they are too far apart, they will break formation and converge to one location. With this, I covered the most common scenarios you will encounter as a Terran player. Hopefully you learned something new from this video. Thank you for watching.